Hello and welcome to my second game review. This time we're taking a look at Battleborn, developed by Gearbox. Battleborn is a first-person shooter with MOBA-like elements added to the gameplay. It features a brief but occasionally memorable PvE campaign with a great cast of characters to play with, along with an enjoyable multiplayer experience provided that you have a couple of friends to play with. Gameplay-wise, it's a fusion of first-person shooter and MOBA, with characters utilizing the Helix upgrade system to upgrade their abilities whenever they reach a new level in a match. You also have gear loadouts to improve your stats mid-match, which can be bought with shards, the in-match currency. This is what gives the game a lot of depth. You can pick and choose which upgrades you want to suit your needs in the middle of a match. Fighting one group of enemies could mean that certain upgrades and Helix options are better than others, so it's very dynamic to each game that you play, at least in multiplayer it is. You start out with 8 characters and need to unlock the rest via challenges or by gaining rank. If you want a specific character, you can go do that character's specific challenge, or you can just play the game and get characters that way. Each individual challenge isn't that bad, although since games can be long, something like play with a rogue character 5 times can take a little bit longer. The story starts out very strong, with an incredible animation of some of the Battleborn crew, along with a prologue that was considered to be a highlight of the story campaign, so much so that Gearbox put the option in to play it again without needing a patch or even a restart of the application.
If it goes down, it's up to us to stop entry. This is the last chance to form an alignment and shorten the distance to the plan. Wish we had a fortune teller, crystal ball in hand, cause can't see in the dark, not even retina scan. Deep in the future, we dig a hold of the prospect. Something toxic got in with foreign objects, war and problems. We gotta get over. This affects the whole. We can't split soldiers.
The dialogue between characters tries to be as funny as it can be, and while not every quip and joke is a complete hit, it's enough to at least make you laugh or smile. That being said, if you didn't enjoy the humor of Borderlands, I can tell that you probably won't enjoy the humor of this game. It doesn't exactly let up. The back and forth between Isaac and Jeff, or Arachnus, was probably my favorite bit of dialogue in the entire game.
My ass, huh? Well, if you want a piece of this, Magnus, you'll have to get through Jeff, my most violent S1 Sentry unit. He's a little eccentric, but crazy lethal. Say, Jeff, got some pukes coming your way I'd just love you to kill, and I'd like...
I'm Arachnus, the Spider King, Lord of all spiders.
No, not today, okay? You're not a Spider King. You're an S1 Sentry unit, and your name is Jeff.
Arachnus!
Oh my god, Jeff, Arachnus, whatever, just kill them already, okay?
Certain characters will have special dialogue between them when paired together as well, which is pretty cool. The game doesn't try to take itself too seriously, although the cartoon animations, which while awesome and very infrequent, are tonally different, giving off a more serious vibe. The main storyline of Battleborn is, there's one star left in the universe, the bad guy wants to destroy it, go stop him. The story missions themselves start out very strong, with the first mission sending you through a huge campaign mission of 4 bosses, unlocking the final boss as a character when complete. They set the bar really high right off the bat, and I was looking forward to more. Being a huge World of Warcraft fan, this first mission felt exactly like a dungeon, the pacing, the bosses, and everything. The second episode is also very good and paced pretty similarly, but as I moved through the rest of them, things began to feel very samey and started to slow down. A mission like the Archive, which is a glorified escort mission, is incredibly slow and not to mention incredibly easy, although I played these missions with a group of friends and not by myself. Enemies get pretty samey throughout the campaign. Big dude with a gun, small dude with a gun, small weird interdimensional alien monster thing, big weird you get it. Things ramped up again towards the end of the campaign and the final episode, with the final battle on normal not really being too much of a problem. However, on advanced, it can lead to fun but sometimes frustrating experiences. For example, on a couple of missions that feature a point you need to defend, it can be frustrating seeing the health bar of the defense point drop rapidly because of one enemy hidden somewhere that you can't see, or a ranged enemy nuking it from super far away. Failing a mission in general is particularly harsh because there are no checkpoints, only extra lives that you use to respawn at technically what is called a checkpoint. If you fail a mission or run out of lives, you go all the way back to the main menu, and with some missions taking 30 minutes or so to complete, a wipe on the final encounter is a heartbreaker, although missions wouldn't be as tense without a big penalty. If you want to crank the difficulty up, you can by flipping the switch to Advanced and or Hardcore, where Hardcore means no extra lives. When by yourself, the missions can be difficult or lengthy because of scaling issues or just the fact that you can take so much damage rather quickly. Ranged characters end up being better than melee because they won't die as often for solo play and don't struggle as much dealing damage. While there is matchmaking for missions, the story that you get is random, with the game giving you 3 options and then you voting on which one you want to play. However, Gearbox recently patched in the option to choose your exact mission on the advanced difficulty. I can understand why this was done, it was probably to reduce queue times. You can queue for the last mission of the game on normal though. Of course, there is loot to earn as well, with loot boxes and gear to earn throughout a mission. The advanced mode offers better loot, as you could imagine. Loot is cool, but it will not completely make or break your Battleborn experience, although some of the unique legendaries that you can get will certainly surprise you with their power or unique ability. There's a nice tug of war with loot bought with shards in the middle of a mission or a match, because shards are also used to buy buildables like turrets or accelerators, which help your team. Ultimately, I'll end up completing all of the story missions on Advanced at least one time, but I'll probably be avoiding some of the more forgettable ones should I want to farm for high-level items. At its best, the story missions are great. The problem is that the game isn't at its best all of the time. The good thing about that is that Gearbox can take that feedback into consideration when making new missions. On the other hand, we have the competitive multiplayer, and this is where I imagine a lot of people will be spending their time. The PvP in this game is more akin to a MOBA style of play than it is a pure first-person shooter style of play. You can't treat the game like a pure first-person shooter, because if you do, you're going to be really bad at it. You need to play it more like a MOBA, more patience, more teamwork. The nice thing about Battleborn PvP is that you don't need to farm minions for 15 to 20 minutes before getting to the action of fighting other players. Fighting other players can and does happen within the first 30 seconds of a match and can keep up that intensity the entire time. But it's not completely mindless, with the objective of each of the 3 modes not solely revolving around killing enemy players, although getting them out of the way certainly helps. You have Meltdown, which prioritizes getting your minions into your minion feeders to satisfy Minwreck, a glorified garbage robot who loves to shout what the recycled minions will turn into. You have Incursion, which is a back and forth mode where you need to destroy the enemy sentries, and you have Capture, which is basically domination, or your typical hold as many points as you can game mode, with Capture being the most team deathmatch-like of the modes, since there are barely any minions to fight against in that mode. Character balance issues aside, of which Gearbox has already put out a couple of balance patches, the PvP has been very entertaining, but this is by case-by-case basis. I'm not going to say if you don't enjoy MOBA type gameplay then you won't enjoy Battleborn, because I do not enjoy MOBAs like League of Legends or Dota, but find Battleborn very entertaining because it has those first-person action elements in there as well, combined with the faster than MOBA type gameplay. Getting teams that are actually balanced, on the other hand, appears to be a little bit more of a struggle, although when they are balanced, the gameplay is great. However, much like a MOBA, you may run into the same problems when you play by yourself. Unhelpful teammates, people unwilling to cooperate, or playing with people who generally don't know what they're doing. But that isn't a problem exclusive to Battleborn. In fact, it's a problem in pretty much every MOBA, and in general, every game. It doesn't feel good to lose a 30-minute match because you had one person on your team go 1-17 with 4 minion kills, whether it was deliberate or because they were just bad. This leads to a slightly more salty experience compared to other shooters with faster games. I'll give the benefit of the doubt here and say it's because it's a different experience than what people are used to, and people need to learn all of the characters, modes, and maps. I've had a lot of practice already, so my view is skewed in terms of assessing player skill among the population. That's not to say Battleborn does a perfect job of explaining how to play the game though. It does give you a rundown at the beginning of each match with the objective of the game very clearly explained, but there's not really much more than that, and players are left to sort of figure everything out on their own. While some people can handle that, other players cannot, and would prefer a more in-depth multiplayer tutorial. The game was also having some matchmaking problems, with full teams going up against low-level solo players and vice versa. In the first 2 weeks, whenever I queued as a full group, I think I've been matched against another group of 4 or larger, maybe 4 or 5 times out of 50 games, with the majority of those games matching us against a team of solo players or a pair of players with the rest of them solo. The game does not use command rank, aka your general player rank, as a way to match you against opponents, but rather uses an elo system, according to Gearbox, in which that elo ranking is hidden to the player. However, as of around May 17th or May 18th, these issues appear to be going away. One session over the weekend paired us up against more fuller teams than ever before, and it finally appears that groups are fighting other groups more consistently, which leads to a more competitive environment and less stomping of solo players, of which my team has enjoyed. The game on console does have occasional frame rate issues, with the cacophony of explosions and particle effects that can litter the screen at times. But when the screen isn't being completely destroyed by said particle effects, it is stable for the most part, although at 30 FPS on console. Everything feels very zoomed in, and it can be tough to tell what's going on around you with the field of view at the level it is on console. Playing a melee character can be dizzying because it's tough to keep track of targets sometimes. On PC, you can and should zoom out your field of view, and provided your computer is powerful enough, there should not be any frame rate issues. I had absolutely no issues running the game on PC with the GTX 970. It looks fantastic, great frame rate with a wide array of options for your desired frame rate, along with a great set of options in general. If the field of view could be adjusted on console and maybe the size of the weaponry from the first person perspective was toned down, that would make things feel not so claustrophobic. The complaint about visuals, I feel, is partly due to the fact that not everyone has learned each character yet and what their visuals look like. I personally don't have much of an issue navigating through particle effects, but I probably have over 50 to 60 hours on the game. Still, it is a problem for a lot of people, and there have definitely been times where I literally just couldn't see because of how much stuff was happening. The option to tone down the visuals would be nice. I do have some other minor gripes with the game, like experience gains and skins. Right now, skins are unlocked by leveling up a character, but they're just a different paint job. There aren't any completely different new skins or character models, so that leaves a little bit to be desired in that department. However, there have been mentions of Tier 2 and Tier 3 skins, which will be more than just changes in color, so hopefully that comes soon and won't be an issue in the future. Character experience gain feels slow if you are PvPing, not in-game experience, but the out-of-game experience, although this could be because I roll with full group and most of the time win games rather quickly. It appears that experience gain has nothing to do with anything except time spent playing that character, and while that's fine, if I do well in a match, I feel like I should gain a little more character experience. Running bot games awards pretty much the same experience as running real games. There's no incentive to even do well for gaining character experience. It's all about how long you play for. If I get 25 kills in a game, maybe toss an extra 10 experience my way, eh, Gearbox? All in all, Battleborn is a fun but sometimes frustrating PvP experience with a memorable at times but definitely not perfect PvE experience with a great cast of characters. This is not a game I would say that you should get solely for the PvE experience, and that you should get it because you enjoy playing both the PvP as well as the PvE. It is a very interesting blend of FPS and MOBA mechanics that player of both games will enjoy. However, the parade of particle effects confusing people, minus the lack of a more in-depth multiplayer tutorial and a lack of a consistently entertaining PvE experience, means Battleborn can use some improvements. Luckily, Gearbox appears to be ready for game fixes and tweaks, with patches and balancing having already come to the game. They have been very active with the community in these opening weeks, especially on Reddit, so I look forward to see what they end up doing with the game. I have enjoyed my time with Battleborn, and I would say you should get it if you have friends to play with or don't mind queuing solo, but I imagine the experience is a lot rougher without a team to play with. You may run into similar scenarios that you would playing a typical MOBA, so keep that in mind. Check out the subreddit to try to find yourself a group of people to play with to make the experience much more enjoyable. This has been my review of Battleborn. If you enjoyed this review, a positive rating would be very greatly appreciated. I'm always looking for feedback on the actual production of the review itself, so if you have any feedback of your own, please leave it in the comments. Thank you all very much for watching, and I will see you next time.